Thank you all for being here. This is GenAI Creative Club. So this is a space for creatives to learn how they can be incorporating GenAI into their workflow should they choose. So yeah, our first event for this. So we're going to start with Heather. Heather, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Bianca. Hey, everybody. My name is Heather Crank, and traditionally I've worked as art director, graphic designer, motion designer. And then about 3 years ago, things, as you know, started to change. So today I'm going to go through a few slides. It should take about 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to introduce some concepts, and then I'm going to get into some live demos. And if you have Firefly or midjourney.com open, feel free to follow along with me and we can kind of play. Um, I'm not going to work in Discord today because the Midjourney site is becoming so much more user friendly, and I have a feeling that's the wave of the future. So we're going to work mostly in midjourney.com. And then I'll open it up for questions. So if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And Bianca, you can interrupt me and ask me if you want, or I'll try and read them too. My name is Heather Crank. I'm an art director, motion graphic designer, now an AI artist. I own the design studio Cremonti. I'm co-producer of the Developing Life podcast, and before all of that, I was also on the programming committee for the Bend Design Conference, as well as the head of exhibits. About 3 years ago, my studio, we started to notice this shift, and I thought, ooh, I should pay attention to that. So we began working more with generative AI. There are a lot of ethical issues, and I'm going to get into that a little more into the slides. But I do feel like Gen AI is here to stay. So this talk is called The Paradigm Shift of Work and Creativity, and I call this era Generation AI. So, in the world of AI, articulation is going to become the new key skill, and I'm sure you're getting a sense of that already. And Merriam-Webster, she defines the action or manner of jointing or interrelating articulation. So you might wonder, how do I become more articulate? And that's really easy. You just need to be curious. You need to read more, dive more into fashion, set design history, anything that you're really interested in, and the psychology behind it. And that's going to give you a wider vocabulary to create prompts from, as well as a, a more vast visual understanding. Disruption. We're in an era of pretty heavy duty disruption. I know you probably all know that. And I really do feel like creativity is the future of design, especially as things start to become more automated. Um, so, to give this context, Einstein has an IQ of around 160, and I feel like it might have been a few months ago, even ChatGPT is about at that level of IQ. So I think a lot about how is this going to change things like education. And if ChatGPT can write a better paper than me or a better dissertation, how do we suss out our experts from our novices? And then I read this great thing by Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he was suggesting that our exams for students and just across the board now be given orally because it's really hard to fake it when you're giving an oral presentation like I'm doing right now. Um, but in that aside, I always wonder, okay, so if ChatGPT is going to be able to run laps around me personally, what skills do I need to learn? Traditionally, in the design realm, people would graduate from college and they would move into entry level positions. They would sort of cut their teeth on the more repetitive type of jobs. But if those jobs become automated and that rung in the ladder disappears, what happens to the design industry and what happens to education? So I think a lot about these things. And I began to wonder, so how in the next 2 years am I going to be culturally relevant if a lot of my job becomes automated? And the answer to that is we don't know. We've never had a technology this intelligent. It's hard to predict what's coming. It's moving super fast. But the one thing that doesn't change, the one thing for me and for a lot of other people in the creative field is the essence of creativity. The one of the hopeful points of this is that empathy is a higher brain function, and so is collaboration. So you might wonder, how do I know this? What am I what am I talking about? So let me read you this quote from Scientific American. The Scientific American states that early Homo sapiens had brains within the range of people today, averaging about 1,200 milliliters or more. But as cultural and linguistic complexity, dietary needs, and technological prowess took a significant leap forward, our brains actually grew to accommodate these changes. The shape changes we see accentuate the regions relating to depth of planning, communication, problem solving, and other more advanced cognitive function. So basically, it's your prefrontal cortex area that grew. And this part of your brain is also responsible for things like creativity, collaboration, impulse control, and perseverance. So this is really great because high levels of intelligence solve problems differently. Okay, so why is this great? What does this mean? So, what this means is that the preservation of the planet, abundance, mindset, sustainability are outcomes that an AI with a high level of IQ would consider the best viable option. Are there bad actors? Yes. There are a lot of bad actors. But my hope is that as AI increases in intelligence, it will help us regulate the harm and the bad actors because there'll be a point where AI will surpass human intelligence and we will need AIs to actually come in and help mitigate damage. There's this great talk by Moga Watt, and he is the chief business officer at Google X. And he was on this podcast called The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. And there's a link here in this presentation, and I'll send it out after the talk and you can look at it. They basically discuss how AI is going to affect humanity. And if you watch this, you have to watch it all the way through. Promise me you will not stop halfway because in the beginning is all the scary stuff and then the hopeful stuff is at the end. And if you don't watch it all the way through, you might not sleep. So please watch it all the way to the end. Okay, so there is a silver lining to all of this, and it is that creatives score really high in empathy. They also excel in things like context and culture. And these are areas AI will always struggle in because AI is not in a human body. Okay, so let's get into AI ethics. And this is something I'm super passionate about. Um, I do use tools that do have some questionable, how should we say this? The way they create their platform, the way they generate data. So I thought a lot about how do I operate in this system with these tools that it's very clear this is the future and still kind of hold on to my humanity. So the codes for ethics for AI, also known as responsible AI, are basically AIs that credit artists. They use meta tags so the image can be traced, and they also use content credentials. Adobe, Laetro, other platforms that started doing this in the beginning are going to be way ahead of the curve because these systems have to integrate into the way we work. And if you don't have copyright, or if the images are not copyrightable, this presents a big barrier to integrating the AI into your workflow. There are 5 ethical AI codes, and they are accountability, trust, transparency, fairness, and agency. Philosopher Luciano Floridi, he's the director of digital ethics at Yale University, and he developed this framework of 5 key principles that go below the 5 AI codes. They are beneficence, which is AI implemented to improve the well being of people and the planet. Non maleficence, do no harm. Autonomy, which is the ability to act freely and restricting the autonomy of machines, which is hugely important. Justice, so that's to design AI to promote equity and fairness. And explicability, which is accountability in the how and why of all AI products. So we're not just randomly creating stuff, but we have intention behind what we're doing with high level intelligence machines. And there's a link here for Luciano Floridi if you want to check out more about him. Okay, so nuts and bolts. Today we're going to get into some prompting basics. I'm not really sure where everybody is at in their experience, so we can go faster or slower and skip over things. Just let me know when we get into the demo. Okay, so the three main Gen AIs I tend to use the most because of the way they're integrating into my job are Firefly and ChatGPT. I also use Midjourney, but it's more for iterations because of the copyright issue. And then I tend to take the images into Photoshop or Illustrator and create my own version. If you do that, you need to be extra careful because the Midjourney images can be traced. So you don't want to just bring a Midjourney image in and draw over it. You can get yourself into some trouble. You actually want to recreate your image. Okay. When you're prompting, it's just like being a designer. It's a visual communication. So you want to think about, what am I creating? Why am I creating it? You might create a mood board or develop a storyboard before you even start, and then jump into AI and begin to create your images. You want to use visually well-defined objects, so anything that's general leaves a lot to chance. Like if you use plural words instead of um, specifying how many of something you want, you're letting the Gen AI make that decision for you. So the more control visually you have, the more unique and interesting your work is going to be. And I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of robots and a lot of work that kind of looks the same. And I personally want to stand out. And the way to do that is to inject your own creativity and your own voice into your work. So this is the basic Gen AI structure. So it has a hierarchical, how to put this? You want to write your prompt in a way that demonstrates hierarchy of an image. So you want to start with your image style in the front, followed by the subject, unless for some reason the image you're generating, you want to flip those, but you do it with intention. You want to think about the medium. So what are you creating? Is this a painting? What medium are you using? It is a photograph. You want to think about the environment. Where is this happening? Your lighting. So this is a big one. Lighting creates emotion and tells stories. And so does color, so does your mood, and so does your composition. So you really want to think about these details. Is it a wide angle shot? Is it an aerial shot? Those of you who have video and photographic experience, you can use all of that language into your prompts, and it's hugely beneficial. And that kind of ties back to that idea of articulation and curiosity. The more you understand about what makes something good, the better your images will become. It's just like design. I use ChatGPT sometimes to help me define and write prompts, especially if I am working for a company where they like to keep their information internal. A lot of companies are very comfortable with ChatGPT and Firefly. So I do a lot of work there. And if we have time today, I can demonstrate how I do that. This is what midjourney.com looks like. Their website, if you were in Midjourney about 2, 3 years ago, you probably worked in Discord. This website now, it's not as good as Discord, but it's definitely catching up. It's getting a lot better. So we're going to work in their website today. And to go there, you go to midjourney.com. Um, when you open the site, you're going to see the gallery of the images that have been created in Midjourney. If you would like to learn how to create that image, you want to hover over the image and you're going to see 4 icons at the bottom. If you click on the T icon, it will give you the prompt that was used to create that image. And a lot of prompt engineering is learning how to reverse engineer what somebody created. So this process really helps if you're new to prompting to kind of figure out, oh, I see that when people generate these type of images, they tend to use these words. So it's a really powerful way to begin to build your prompt library. You can also go into the search bar in the top right and enter a keyword, say like this is environmental, and it will bring up all the images that are associated with that keyword. And then you could hover over it again and get the prompt, and you get the idea. It's just a great way to begin to understand how to create certain images. Okay, do we have any questions so far? Okay. And I'm also going to include in this PDF, which I'll send out, a bunch of resources here for you. There's some on GenFil. There is a great text to 3D application in Firefly called Neo that is blowing my mind, that I highly recommend you get into. Scene to image is also in Firefly Neo. And then there's a AI summit weirdly here in Bend, Oregon. And I put a link here if you want to check it out, as well as some books to read and some interviews. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Any questions so far?
I have one
Oh, yes.
question. How do you work with brands? I see a lot of brands using assets almost as is, and you were like, you need to reproduce them. In terms of like, if you were to be hired to do some AI exploration, like, how do you put some boundaries around like we're using those images just as like an exploration, and you'll still have to pay your contractor to get the final assets?
So do you mean like as far as boundaries, like making sure nobody directly copies?
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
imagine, especially if they use, I think Firefly is a little less of an issue because copyright is less of a problem there. But when they use Midjourney and they like
Yeah.
just use as is straight in things you might have produced for like more of a mood board
Mm-hmm,
situation.
mm-hmm. I'm fine with people using that for a mood board. It would be like if somebody, as an art director, if I said I need you to create a mood board for X, and they pull images directly from someone else's work, I would be like, that's great. I get the direction we're going, but I would push them then to create it based on the brand guidelines, whatever we have going on the brief. Yeah, it would make it really clear. You can trace Midjourney images; it will show up there. If you've probably noticed, if you've ever uploaded a Midjourney image to Instagram, it will tag it immediately. If you zoom into those images, you can tell. So you can tell, like I can tell instantly. Um, so I just bring it up, like do not directly copy. Do not directly copy unless we're working in Firefly. It's a whole different thing. But if you're in Midjourney or a different type of AI that uses a certain data set that is not copyrightable, it just before we even start.
Good
Yeah.
to know. Thank
Yeah. I don't want to be sued. Thank you very much. That's not what I'm aiming for.
God, that was amazing. I love just like, I don't want to be sued. Quote, Heather Crane, 2025. Amazing. Okay.
Yes. No, please don't sue me. Yeah. So it's the same, and also I think there's more creativity when you are inspired by an image or you're using it as a reference and then you push that concept. I don't think that AI should equal lazy creative. I think it's super important to continue to have a voice, continue to flex your skill set. But I think it's a great thing for stock imagery and iteration and beginning visual explorations. I'm going to open Midjourney here, and I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to walk through some stuff with you guys. All right. So, can you see my screen okay? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so we are in midjourney.com here. And if you haven't been on their site, this is their general interface. Um, you'll see some things here on the left tab. You have explore, create, edit, personalize, organize, chat. This is just a bunch of people talking, and tasks. So I'm not going to cover tasks today, but I will go through a few of these. This is the image gallery I was referencing, and you can see as I'm hovering, these icons are showing up. And if I hit the T, I see the prompt here of this image. You also have these sliders here on the right. If I click on that, this is just like Firefly. I can change the aspect ratio really easily. I can use a slider to same thing. You have stylization, which is how much influence Midjourney is going to have on your image. The default is 100. As I push this up, I'm basically asking for more variation based on the code of Midjourney. Weirdness is weirdness, variety is variety. If you have questions about what any of these do, you can just hover and it will tell you. Mode, you have standard and raw. Standard is standard. Raw is more photographic and cinematic. So if you've got an image that you want some really gorgeous cinematic lighting, work in raw. And then you have your versions. Midjourney has a lot of versions. I work in the latest. It also has Niji, which is basically a version trained with anime. So it's sort of anime cartoony. And then let me click off that. Personalize. So if I go into personalize, what this does, and I'll demonstrate this in a little bit, is it trains Midjourney on your personal aesthetic. You can also create mood boards this way that are trained on specific images. So if I had branding guidelines that I wanted to follow, I could add images to my mood board and then use that mood board to apply to any image set. So it consistently generates that particular aesthetic. It's a really cool feature. It's a newer feature. And if you haven't used mood boards, you should check that out. And then speed, relax, fast, turbo. I'm in fast today. The more speed, the more credits that it eats up. So, you could stay and relax. If you had fewer credits, it's just going to be a little slower, but it doesn't affect anything else. You click out. Okay, so let's say I just want to create a variation of this image here that I just basically copied the prompt. I just come to the end and I'm going to hit enter. And the image generation starts here and create UC01. So I'm going to click on that. And here are your image generations and here are your prompts. This image uses stylize at 150 and an aspect ratio of 3:4. You can change all of this if you click into one of these images here. And you've got two options. You can continue to create more variations using subtle or strong. Your prompt is up here. You can upscale this image, just like in Firefly. Subtle is you're basically getting what you see. Creative is it'll smooth out skin a little more. It'll give you a little more polished lighting, but it eats up more credits. So don't do this till you're ready. You can rerun this image. So run the prompt again. And then down here, this is image, style, and prompt. So if I'd like to put the prompt back up in the prompt bar, I click that. If I'd like to use this image as a style reference, so what that means is I would use the style. So it would be like the color, the lighting, maybe a little bit of the composition from this image. I would hit style. And that puts this image up here. So what this means is that this prompt is now referencing the style of this image. You can use any image here, and we'll do this again so it makes more sense. I can also use this image as part of the prompt. So if I did that, you'll see now that I have this image icon and the paperclip. The paperclip is a style reference, and the image icon is using the image as part of the prompt itself. So it's a little bit different. It would actually incorporate this whole image versus just the style. If I were working with characters, you can also use this little person icon here. So this is a character reference, and that would help you create consistent characters. If you worked in Midjourney back in the Discord days, this is a C ref, was what that would mean. And the paperclip would be an S ref, which is style reference or character reference. Okay. So if I hit these sliders again, I can come back in here and I can adjust all this again. Let's say I don't want stylized 150. I want to push it up to 300. I can do that. Okay. And you can also clear everything if you wanted to. You can just go in here and delete it like that. And then I could set it again. Let's do it again. Let's go way up here. Okay. And I'm going to hit this paper airplane and you'll see create starts going again. And now we're creating more variations. Okay. So let's say you want this, you want Midjourney to describe an image. Back in the Discord day, you could hit backslash and describe, but on the website, it's different. So how I would do that is I'm going to, oops, sorry about that, click up here into this square. And that's going to pull up, this is pulling up everything I've ever generated. Or I can choose a file directly from my computer. I just uploaded this image. If I hover over it, you're going to see an I for info and this little pencil tool, which is edit. And I'm not going to go into edit. The midjourney.com site does have its own editing, how shall I say this, area, but it's just not as good as Photoshop. I do all my editing in Photoshop still. Okay, so if I hit the I here, it's going to give me what it thinks would be good prompts for this image. And then I would just go in and read them and click on the ones that I like. I'm just going to grab some randomly here. Yep. Okay. And if I'm happy with this selection, I could hit the paper airplane and it will generate the image, or I could hit the sliders and adjust it more. I'm just going to generate this guy. And once it's generating, you see the create with 0-1. If I click into that, now we see all the images, and I'm still at stylized 550 because I didn't change it. You can also hit rerun here, use the prompt again here. You can hit the more button. You can open this in Discord and you can download your image. Okay, so I think none of these images look like I want, but I suspect it has something to do with the stylized 550 here. So I have two ways to fix this. I could either rerun it. I could use the prompt again and just remove stylized 550 and hit enter. It didn't clear it. I have to do it again. So basically, the stylize is taking it away from the initial image, which had a lot more neon and interesting composition. And I just don't like this stuff. Don't like this so much. Yeah. Okay. Click out of that. So let's try this again. So let's do, I'm going to hit very subtle. I'm going to see. Yep, it is the stylize that's causing that. Okay. Let's do it again. So if you click on the image, basically it's going to generate a whole bunch of prompts here. This is like if you were in Discord, this is the re-roll of variation. You can rerun all your prompts, or I'm going to go back down here. I'm going to go to prompt, put it back in the prompt bar. I'm going to hit the slider, and I'm going to bring stylization way back down. Okay, click off that, and I'm going to read the prompt now. Let's see. Headphones, desk, computer. I'm going to take out periods because I feel like commas work better in Midjourney. And the reason commas are great is that it forces the hierarchy of the image. So if I have a happy female customer service representative here, and I want that to kind of be the main focus of this, then I would want to put a comma at the end of this phrase and then start the next phrase, which is creating a vibrant atmosphere. That way I'm telling Midjourney this first part of the prompt is really important, and then put the second part. The order of your prompt also matters, so whatever is most important, you put in the front. Okay. And I don't want this stylize. 550. So I'm going to click back in here and make sure we are where I want that to be. Okay. And I'm going to try this one more time, and we'll see if it gives me what I want. If it doesn't, then there's a workaround for this. So let's see what we got. Going slow, 30%. Oof. Let's see if we get a little closer. We're getting closer. So as soon as I took the stylize off, I don't know if you could see the difference in these two images. This is a lot closer to my reference image. In fact, this one is really close. So if I wanted to get even closer to this image, what I would want to do is create an image reference. And I'm going to use an image reference from my original image to try and force this to be closer. So what I'm going to do is I want to use this same prompt. So I hit the prompt down here. And then I'm going to click on this image icon, and I want to select, back please, my original image here. And now you see it here. So I'm asking this image to be a reference with this prompt. And you'll know that it's a image reference because it's showing you the image icon.
Hey, Heather, I have a
Yes,
question. Is it
please.
possible to see this reference image bigger?
Yes, let me see if I can get it bigger.
Just to kind of get a better
Yes.
understanding of what it is, like what it
Yeah.
looks like
Yes.
originally.
Yes. Yes. Let's go over here. So hang on. Come on. Cloud. Thank you. Let's go here. So this, oop. This get, okay. Can you see this?
Yeah.
So this is the image reference that I'm using.
Okay.
So you can see it's got neon lighting. It's got some depth of field going. It's sort of glowy. Let me go back over here. So this image is a lot closer than this image. This image, that we've lost the neon. I have sort of the angle I want, but it's just not the same vibe as what we had before. Whereas if you look at this one, it's the color palette is similar. We're getting some neon. She's wearing headphones. The details are starting to match what I want. And then if I use an image reference, I get even closer. Now I'm getting more depth of field. I'm getting a little bit closer to the color palette.
Okay.
So does that make sense?
It does make sense. And something I just wanted to say I thought was kind of interesting is how like the reference image that you have, and just like even the one that was inside of Midjourney, and
Uh-huh.
then when you generate it again just now,
Yeah.
this like I guess facsimile of a young woman
Yes.
is much lighter in skin tone, and like even some of the
Yes.
images, her curls, like the curls in her hair are much looser. And I
Yes.
think it's interesting how there's this like bias towards like whiteness.
Yes. Oh, you should see. Okay. I'm going to show you one other thing. There is a bias towards whiteness, and if you want diversity in your images, you have to prompt for it. It will default to white, and the worst of those is Chat GPT. Okay,
Okay.
hold on. I'm going to show you something. Hang on. Hang on. This
Okay.
is really funny, or not funny, sad, annoying. Okay, so I'm going to grab this prompt here, and I'm going to flip over to Chat GPT. And I'm going to paste the prompt into the prompt bar. Okay. And up at the top, I'm going to hit enter. Up here, I'm going to say hello chat, because if the robots become alive, I want them to like me. Okay. I'm going to say hello
He said,
chat.
I was being cordial from the
I'm being
beginning.
nice. Please don't hurt me. Okay. So hello chat. Please generate an image from the prompt below. Oop. Uh, uh, okay. All right. So I'm going to guess this will be a white person. ChatGPT's images, I'm not a fan of the aesthetic, but it does help me reverse engineer images and create prompts sometimes if I'm struggling. Oh, yes. Yeah. So if I were to watch, if I'm gonna click on this plus tab here and upload an image, just like I did before as a style reference. So I'm uploading this image again, and I say open, and I'm going to say, please generate, please generate a prompt from this image. And then I'm going to say, please generate an image from the prompt above. Just let it catch up with me. It is the worst. I'm not specifying diversity at all. I am just writing a generic young woman. And this also is why being specific is super important. Boom. So that skin tone, that is not what I'm going for at all. Here's your reference photo. So ChatGPT is the worst. It's the worst. Midjourney is a little better. Firefly is a little better. Will give you more diversity in your images, but this is part of the whole ethical AI conversation. Is that a lot of Gen AIs are geared toward specific white male, especially if you put general business person
Mhm.
demographics. And it's also a reflection of our world online and what we value, which is that's a whole different, different
Yeah. No,
conversation.
I feel like it's just taking the human biases of people who create these
Yes,
systems and then just replicating it inside the system.
that's
So
exactly it.
it's an
The,
us problem.
it's an us. That's exactly it.
So
It's
yeah,
exactly it.
it's just interesting to see that in both ChatGPT and Midjourney.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, it's not my most favorite thing. Okay. So I'm going to come
Thank you
back
for sharing that.
over here. Yeah, no. I noticed this a while ago, and there are some people who specifically study this. Actually, I should. I'm going to send you some information. There's some people who it's their job to kind of deal with the biases of AI and the ethical concerns around that. Okay, so I'm coming back over here to Midjourney. And so I'd like to touch on personalize here. Um, this is a really great feature. So if I hit personalize and I turn this on, basically I'm going to teach Midjourney what I find aesthetically pleasing. I can create a standard profile or I can create a mood board. So if I hit create standard profile, it's going to show me images and I'm going to tell it which one I think is better. And you just do this for a while and you'll see it says 1 to 40 to unlock your profile. So if you do 40 of them, you will create a general global profile. And I go back, and then I can use this global profile, which right now is set to my default. So all images I create are running through this, what I think is beautiful. Or you can use a specific profile to create your image. So let's say I have this test down here, and I'd like to use this in a prompt. And you can, I should also say, you can change the name. So we'll call this Laetro. I'd like to use this in a prompt. So what I would do is, oh, come back, come back, come back. Okay, I want to copy the code of this. So I'm gonna, we're crying in the night, Heather. So what I want to do is use profile. So if
I
I
love
click,
the name. I love the phrase for crying in the night, Heather.
if I click on use profile, what you're going to see, as I just messed it up, you're going to see a dash. Stop clicking on that. You're going to see a dash dash P and a code. This code is the code that is connected to your profile. So if I put this here, let's see if I messed up those numbers. It's going to pull information from those images in that profile or mood board. I did notice if I put too many images in there, it kind of freaks it out a little bit. I'd say around 5 to 10 images seems to be a sweet spot. Yeah, but that's pretty dang close. And if you look at this image, oops, I didn't mean to generate that again. If you look at the aesthetics of this image, and if we go back to personalize, and I'm going to click into the Laetro mood board, I think. You can see we're getting a little bit closer to the intensity and the color. We've got hot pink, depth of field. Um, we're definitely moving much closer to that aesthetic. It is responding to the stylized 150 and the prompt as well. I think this is a really powerful and amazing tool. And you can see I've got a lot of mood boards here for different things. I've got a graphic one. I've got a dark flora one. So you can create mood boards for any kind of aesthetic or any kind of project that you have. Do I have any questions?
I think I have some.
Yes, I
Okay,
bet.
let me see. I've like bolded a few things. Okay. I guess like when I'm looking at this, like this is very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also looking at it and it's like, okay, like what kind of task is it like most valuable to use generative AI with?
Mm.
And like I feel like I've heard of people like they're just front to back using generative AI.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also heard people be like, look, it's not for everything. I use it when I need it, but and
Mm-hmm.
people who are very well versed in it, but they just don't use it
Yeah.
that much. So what do you think like the best kind of task is to be using this for?
So Midjourney, I use a lot for really fast iterations. If someone wants to see a whole bunch of potential examples of design directions, I would create the base imagery here, and then I'd bring it into Illustrator or Photoshop, tweak it, create just a general look. I use this also a lot for stock imagery, potential images. Sometimes I'll use it to direct photographers if I want something specific shot. And I'm like, I want it to look like this. The reason this is so powerful is if I have a shot in mind, I don't have to go search a zillion billion websites to find the shot. I can be like, this is exactly what I want you to do, because I can control it here. And it's the same with if I'm working with a motion graphics team and I want to quickly create, like, here's a really super quick storyboard. I want you to animate this and I want you to create assets that look like this. So it's a great direction tool. Copyright is an issue here, and I don't use this for final imagery, just for direction.
Okay.
I have a
So
question.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Can you please go through the whole how do you use the mood board to personalize it?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I kind of
It
missed
was
that.
yes. So if you come down here to personalize,
All right.
and you have two options. You can train Midjourney. So if you want to train it just to create a general, like, I want every image that I create to feed through this profile, turn personalization on, and then you
Okay.
create a standard profile. It will bring up images, and then click on the image you like. So whichever one you think is most beautiful, and it'll keep going for a while. You can
I do
see
get
your
that one,
rock.
but it's like if you already have
Oh,
images you collected somewhere, so you already have a mood board. So how do you
okay.
click on the other one, create,
You
or
create mood board, and you can upload images that you have on your desktop. You can add them from your own gallery, so things you've already created. You can bring them in from a link. So
okay.
let's see, I'm just going to make one real quick. So add from gallery. So looking. Okay, so while it's doing that, you can change the title here. So I'm going to call this test 3. You have not reached the end. Hang on. I'm just going to upload an image. All right, so let's say I'm going to create, we're just going to use these 2 images. So I've uploaded these 2 images, and I'm going to say this is my mood board here.
Okay.
So then I would go back. Okay, and you're going to see it here. And you can change the title by hitting the pencil guy here. If you want to use this mood board, you want to come over here and click Use Mood Board. And this code is put up here. --P equals personalize. And this code is the code that will implement these settings. You can copy and paste it at the end of any prompt, or you can begin typing a prompt here. Like, let's say, what's a good prompt? Woman in an office. I cannot spell. Profile.
So does spelling affect it?
Some, sometimes it figures it out. Depends on how bad your typo is. Okay, so I hit enter. So I've got a prompt here, and you'll see woman in office profile view, stylize 150, mood board test 3. So you can see that it's referencing that mood board. Does that make
Does it
sense?
help to have the longer prompt or like a
Yes.
shorter prompt? Like the longer prompts are better?
In Midjourney likes a little bit. Yeah, this is great. You can see it's really referencing that mood board. Midjourney likes longer prompts, but it also wants you to be concise. So you don't want to use a lot of filler words. Like if you can be more succinct and get rid of things like if, and, so, it doesn't need that so much. In Firefly, it's different. Firefly wants 175 words in its prompt, and it wants short and concise. So each Gen AI sort of has its different rules.
Well, thank you. This is interesting because I have a really ridiculous thing to draw. It's basically Louis the 14th aesthetic, kind of like the Hall of Mirrors, but it's a circular room and there are 2 characters in it. It's like all those reflections, and I'm like, I need AI for this one.
Yeah, well, it is a fantastic way to use AI. I even have one client and they do a lot of fabric design. And so they use a lot of AI to generate ideas, or um, there's even ways to repeat patterns, specifically in Discord, which I hope this happens here, which just helps them speed up their workflow. But the end result is, yeah, just like you still have to draw it. It just helps you get the perspective and everything.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really helpful.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other Midjourney questions? Because I want to hop over to Firefly, and I know we're running short already. Time
I
is flying.
also do want to say I'm happy to stick around past the hour mark if anyone else
Okay.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, I am in no hurry.
Okay.
Okay. So let's hop over to Firefly. I want to show the difference here. Okay, this is the Firefly dashboard, and hold on, I should open that. Let me move the chat over here. Okay, text to images here, and something else I want to point your attention to is scene to image. This is unreal, but I want to show you Firefly first, and then before we go, I want to show you this. Okay, so I'm going to click into Firefly, and you're going to get this screen here. And Firefly, just like the Midjourney, it's going to show you all the different versions. I always stay in the latest. You can change your aspect ratio here. So this is very similar to the Midjourney site. You can use a composition reference. So this is a little bit different than Midjourney doesn't have this specific feature, but it creates the outline, depth, and composition of an image. I'm going to show you what I mean. You can use their gallery. They have baked in things. And you can upload your own reference image. So I'm going to show you what this means, because I know this can be kind of abstract. Let's say, let's do a skull in the, oh gosh, skull in the snow with diamond eyes. Just making this up. As I'm typing, you'll see it's giving me prompt suggestions, which if you want to use it, you can just hover over and click on it. Okay, this is a very short prompt. Let's just see what it gives me. Great, fabulous. Okay, so if I want to use, I'm gonna click on this weird ball, what is that, pillar thing here. If I want to use this as a reference image and apply it to this image, it's going to create like a skull head on a pillar. So let me show you what that looks like so you get a sense of what I'm talking about. See, so now we have the skull in a pillar. So whatever is in this box creates the outline of the image itself. It adjusts the image, and you can change the strength here to make it really strong or not strong at all. I tend to leave it in the mid-range. This is a style reference. So there are a whole bunch here. You can browse the whole gallery. There's a ton of styles here. If I wanted to apply a style, it would be like, is it cut paper? Is it neon? Is it a sketch? So I'm going to click this neon thing here, and I'm going to hit generate. And I still have this pillar ball thing selected up here. So now you're getting a neon version. So the style affects the style, which is basically like the color and the lighting. And the ball thing up here, the composition reference, actually affects the shape and the outline of your object. And you have the ability here to adjust the strength and intensity. If this is still confusing to you, you can hover over here if you forget, and I will tell you what these are. the cool thing is that you can create your own style reference, and I'm going to demo that in a minute because I think this is a really powerful tool in Firefly, and also because Firefly uses Adobe stock, so there is zero copyright issue here, which is super helpful. You can also apply effects, and there are a million, billion, zillion effects in here. I tend to like, especially if I'm creating something more 3D, I like to use hyper realistic. And when I pick that, you'll see on the bottom that those styles show up here. And let's see, I like to also use beautiful. Once you scroll down to the bottom, you also have the option to change the color and tone, the lighting, which I'm going to use studio light for this. And you can adjust the camera angle, which I'm going to use wide angle. You can put these same parameters in your prompt itself. And I don't know, I've done it in the prompt. I've used the styles. Sometimes they're different. Sometimes they're the same. Sometimes if I want like a wide angle lens, but I also would like it shot from above, then I would need to put shot from above in the prompt itself and leave wide angle lens in the style. So it's just getting in there, kind of messing around and seeing what images do what. Okay, so Firefly does not have the option of being able to describe an image. And you also cannot reference an artist here, but it does understand things like eras and time, planets and countries. So there are ways to kind of work around the type of style if you kind of really work your prompt. And it's the same thing here. The order of your prompt matters, so you want to put the most important thing in front. All right, so I'm going to do something a little tricky because I think this is really fun. Okay, so I have a prompt already written here so we can move. Let me go down here. So I'm going to create a image from a text. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create an image that the sketch is going to reference. So I'm going to put a water lily floating on a light blue reflective water. And oh, let me come back up here. You can also choose art or photo. For this one, I want it to be photo. You can leave it on auto, but you might want to double check this. If you want something a little more realistic, I would go with photo. All right, I'm going to hit generate. I'm going to do it one more time. Let's see what I get. I think I like this one. I like the angle of it. If I hover over this image, you'll see there's this edit button. So if I click on edit, you're going to get some options. You can go to generate video, which we can do if you want in a little bit. But what I'm interested in is use this image as a style reference. So I'm going to click on that. Okay. You'll see it shows up here. And then what I want to do in the composition reference, remember that creates the shape and outline and the depth. I'm going to add my own composition reference. So I click on this box and it brings this up. I'm going to go here. And I have this image, just really quick, dirty sketch in Illustrator. You'll notice that I've separated the colors out, which is really important. And this also needs to be a JPEG. Okay, I'm going to hit open. It's saying, do you have the right to use this image? Yes, I do. Okay, so now what I want to create is a glass perfume bottle. So I need to add that to the front of my prompt. So I put glass perfume bottle. We're going to give it a black, shiny lid. and it's going to be on a water lily. And I'm really specific here about how it shows up in the scene so that it's not smushed with the water lily, so we don't have a weird hybrid. I'm going to start here with all of the strengths and visual intensities sort of in the mid-range. And I'm going to hit generate. You can do this with type. There we go. Boom. I mean, if I took this image and then, brought it into Illustrator, I could very easily create a really pretty ad. That one's really nice. And I feel like the aspect ratio for this should probably be not square. Let's go portrait and generate it again. So this is a really quick way. Yeah, that's much better. Ooh, pretty. That if you wanted to create an ad and you can add more to your prompt here, you could flesh out your idea. If I turn the strength of this bottle up, I should probably turn those down. It's now actually exactly getting the lid that I drew. So the more this strength increases, the more it will give you exactly what's in this box. If I turn down the visual intensity and strength here of this reference image, it should give me even more of this bottle. So you're just kind of getting in there and playing. Ooh, except it made it black. I should have put clear glass. I'm so bad. Anyway, you can play with these things, but the reference image
but
is
maybe
so
it's
cool.
like dark flora or dark academia suddenly,
Yeah. No,
you
I
should
mean,
just roll with it.
The second one looks really cool.
It's just such a cool thing to do. Okay, how are we? I'm going to do one more. I like these better. And all I did was push the style intensity up. And I really like this one that's sitting here. But you could really play with this. It's even picking up the frame here that's in this reference image. Because it's on a white background with a gray frame. If I didn't want this, then I would just change the way I sketched it. Okay, let's do one more really quick. And then I gotta show you Neo before I go because it's just so amazing. All right, so I'm gonna create another, for crying in the night, another reference image here. And the reference image I want is a 3D chrome pipe isolated on a white background. I want to create something that has some twists and turns into it. And I'm really looking for a texture. This one's pretty good. Okay, so I'm now going to use this image as a style reference. So come up to edit, use as a style reference. And then I'm coming up here to the reference photo thingy, clicking on it. And let me go to this text. And I'm going to grab this text. So I created some spline text in Illustrator. I'm going to open it. Okay. And I have the strength all the way up here. So now I'm going to click generate. Oh, I forgot one thing. Okay, this is probably not going to work, but we'll see. It's probably going to, oh, it did work. Okay. Normally I would change the word pipe to text, but what that did was give us more of the pipe, which I think is cool. And let's change the aspect ratio from portrait to, let's try widescreen. Let's generate that again. But what's most important here is that your strength is turned up all the way for text, and it will give you exactly what you drew with a texture. I think this is so amazing. The more twisted and textured the thing is, especially if you use spline text with a gradient, the more it will pick it up.
I like how it's continuously choosing to use like the end of the pipe as the dot over the I.
Isn't that cool?
Like instead of just like, yeah, it's interesting how it, yeah.
So I changed here 3D Chrome text. I took pipe out. So it's picking up the pipe elements because I left that word in the prompt. But as soon as I chose text, it just read the text. So the pipe elements come out. So how you prompt with this really matters a lot. I just think that's so great. Okay, maybe it's just me. So any questions here on Firefly? And you'll also see again down here, everything that I change shows up. And you can just exit out if you don't want it here anymore. And just play with the styles. There are so many styles. So many. Any questions?
I guess I'm kind of curious. Not that anyone like should only ever use like, you know, one program ever for anything, but like outside of like Firefly being more commercially viable, like what like do you feel like Midjourney is better for some things and like Adobe Firefly is better for others?
Yes. Oh, I should also show you one thing. Let me answer that first though. I feel like Firefly is really powerful for things like this in particular. It's really great for certain types of stock imagery. It does have, it's less nuanced than Midjourney. I don't have as much control here over my imagery. And Midjourney has this, as you know, massive data set. So it just has, how do I put this, a better range. It has a bigger range of images. I'd say Firefly is my number 2 so far as data sets. But it has a smaller image pool, and I notice a difference. So right now, what dictates what I use really has a lot to do with who the client is, where they stand on copyright issues. Is it more graphic? I'd probably go to Firefly. Is it more kind of photographic or experimental? Midjourney is better. So it just kind of depends on who your client is and what you're creating.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
One other thing I wanted to mention is if you find something you like here, you can click the star button. It will save it to your gallery. You can also download your image here. And then you have some options where you can actually open this and to generate video, create video from this image. You can generate similar. You can go to generative fill. And you can add text and create a social media post. I don't like to create text in these programs. I really like to use Illustrator for that, but you could. One other thing, if you go to the gallery and let's say I like this lemon guy here, you'll see that there's a heart where you can like it, but you can also click view. If I do that, it brings this image right into Firefly with the prompt that was used. So you can see what people used and you can actually, I could try the prompt. I could start iterating on that right now. Oh, those are crazy. Okay, so you get the gist. Let me go. I want to go over here now. Let's go really quickly into this scene to image. Oh my God. Okay. This is text to 3D. If you've ever worked in Cinema 4D, you'll recognize our Blender. This is a 3D platform. This cube, you can move it around. You can rotate your scene. It's a lot like 3D programs. If I wanted to change give me the cube. If I want to move the cube around, change its size, change its height, I could do any of those things. It has a whole bunch of shapes here. You can add to your scene if you wanted to. You can add text. I'm going to rotate this way. Okay, so let's say this is the image I want. And I'm going to come down here. It has a prompt bar. I'm going to write downtown San Francisco, CISCO. Oh my God, I just misspelled that. Okay. Moving forward anyway with, see, downtown San Francisco Park with trees and people. And then
But how many people, Heather?
oh, trees. Okay. Oh, and I put tress. All right.
Oh, I
Trees.
guess this isn't Midjourney.
Let's say
So maybe
let's say 10. I'm going to be specific. 10
okay.
people. Okay.
I just remembered from earlier in your post that you were like,
you're right.
specificity.
Specificity. Okay. So I've got 10 people. And then if you look over here, this is the same as Midjourney. You'll see slider bars. So if I click on this, it gives you some options. You can change the background and your perspective. I'm not going to touch that. But if you go to this one, you can change a color strength, style effects, which is like Firefly, but you can add a style reference. I'm going to grab a style reference from my computer here. Yes, I own this image. Okay. So if you look, oops, I wanted to show that to you. Let me go back over here. Okay, so I'm grabbing this image here as a style reference. Okay, so I'm coming back into Neo, and I also want to add San Francisco Park with trees and 10 people, a giant clear cube in the middle of the park. Okay, I'm gonna hit generate. Yes, I agree. Okay. Go away. The first time I saw this, I was so shocked. Now I'm going to hit art on this content type, and I'm going to show you the difference, but this is more photographic, realistic. I mean, and I could take this right now and let's just, hold on, I can move this back over. Rotate your scene. I'm going to change this to art and I'm going to generate it again. This kind of work would take me hours in the past, hours. It's just boom. And it's referencing my image. And if I wanted to play with this more, I could go in here and adjust the size of the cube. I could adjust the transparency. I could add more shapes. This is just, this is unreal. You could also create your own style effects here. There's so much control. So this is Neo on Firefly. Any questions? No. Okay. All right. I'm going to go back over here to Firefly, and I'm just about to wrap up here, but I'm going to show you one last thing. Okay, so you can also use, let's say in Illustrator, you use your 3D command, and I've created some stacked text. So if I go back over here, let me go over to Laetro again. Hello, come on. Thank you. Okay. And I've created this letter B in Illustrator, so it's stacked. Really simple. And let's say I'd like to use a texture on that B. I'd want to choose something that was stacked as well. So if I do, I'm going to create a reference image for that B. So let's try grilled cheese. Dripping. How can I put that? Let's say grilled cheese on a white background.
It says grilled cheese, and now I'm concerned that fish are going to come into here.
Oh, no. Okay. Thank you, grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese. I wonder what that would have looked like.
Bianca. Dripping cheese. You are bad. Okay. Grilled cheese with dripping cheese on a white background. All right, I'm going to quickly generate that here. Go. Okay, I think this one's pretty good. So I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to use this again as a style reference. Shows up down here. In my composition reference, I'm going to go grab that B that I just showed you. Okay, so I'm grabbing this stacked B here. I'm going to open it. Yes, I own it. And then in the front, this is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to put grilled cheese in the shape. Maybe we'll do, I'm trying to see how to word this. Let's see. Let's try grilled cheese in this is how I'm going to write this. We're going to say text in the shape of a grilled cheese. I'm going to get rid of this extra thing here. Okay. And I'm going to leave the strength here for now. I may have to turn that up, but let's see. And my settings here, again, are hyper realistic and photo. Boom. It's just mind blowing. So if I wanted to turn up the strength here, it'll probably just give it more of the B. It's cropping a little close, and yeah, that's even better. Look at those crumbs. I mean, look at that. If I go back up here, I'm in portrait. If I went square, we'll get more negative space because the original image is square. But yeah, you get, oh yes, you get the idea. Okay, any questions?
I have, I guess, a really broad question. So,
Yes.
like every time you're using a reference image and it's asking you if you own it,
Yeah.
is Adobe Firefly also then taking that image and being like, this is becoming part of our data set now? Like, can they do that?
No, they
No?
cannot do that.
Okay.
But if I use reference images, if I create the image like I just created the grilled cheese and Firefly, that is copyrightable because everything is being created in Firefly. If I bring in my own image, then it becomes risky if that image is not copyrightable, which is why they say, hey, do you have permission? Because you could create a situation. But no.
Okay. Cool.
No. Yeah.
I also have a question about hierarchy of the prompting.
Yes.
So if we're doing like a wide shot, then should we prompt the background first and then like the characters? Or
I usually put the shot, lighting, and background at the end.
okay, so like the most important
But
would be
if
characters.
yeah, I think the characters would be the most important. You could do an experiment where you could do something really extreme, like put the shot in the very beginning, in the characters at the end. And I think what that would do is make the characters small and the shot really prominent. If you want the characters to be the main hero of your image, I'd put them in the front.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, usually for me, the shot is the last detail. Do anybody else have any questions or anything I can help with or answer?
I've got a question on this one on Firefly a little bit and going back to the perfume exercise.
Oh yeah, sure.
When I use Firefly, one thing that I don't like about it is that I can very clearly like feel the data set of like Adobe stock, which is sometimes not my favorite stock site, let's be honest. And so like when you're looking at something like the perfume bottle, like the lighting's a little flat and things like this, like are you able to fix that in there, or is this kind of like good enough to get you to approval on the budget to get you to the shoot? Like what's your mindset when trying to get like really nice work out of Firefly, let's say, in that type of like setup?
So I would play with the lighting here. I would also try it in the prompt and I would push it to see how close I could get it. If I couldn't get it, then I would bring it into Photoshop and I would mess with it there.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting what the function is in Photoshop where you can match lighting of various images, but Photoshop for me is still the powerhouse of effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So in Firefly, like I know in Midjourney, talking to like a photographer of like, get me a highlight, get me a bounce light. Like it seems
Yeah.
to really that. Can
Yeah.
Firefly also responds to that?
Yes, you can do all the same things, but it will be contingent on the imagery, the stock imagery. So you can do it, and I would try pushing it as far as you could. Midjourney is just it's a beast next to anything else because of how it learned. It learned from the best.
Yep.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I sometimes if I put the lighting stuff in the prompt, it's a way better result than using the baked in lighting. And sometimes I have to kind of use both. So it's a case by case, mess around and find out.
Cool. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Anything else? Regardless, it's just a really fast way to get your initial thing going, which, normally you would need a lot more time and people. And I don't know about you, but I've noticed a lot of my clients are wanting things much faster, and the budgets are shrinking. So for me as a small studio, these tools are really super helpful. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Heather, thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
was really, really wonderful. It was very edifying. I feel like a big takeaway for me was like how much this is part of, like if it's part of any part of the process, it's like the ideation, like brainstorming element,
Yes.
and not necessarily like, okay, I prompted and I got this image asset or I got this video asset and that's done. Like
Oh,
that it's
yeah.
kind of, it's not the end result.
No, and I do really think this is why I'm talking a lot about creativity and people's ability to think and design and be an artist, is that this should never replace those skills because it's not at the same level. And we all should be involved and have an influence. And people who are trained, you can see it instantly. You just see it, like Joel was saying. You just notice right away. And we're not the only ones. So I think it's a great tool, but it is not the end result at all.
Okay, well, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for all of your questions. Yeah, we will be doing this. We'll be covering other generative AI. We'll be talking about ChatGPT. We'll also be talking about Laetro AI, of course, in future.
Yes.
So yeah, just keep, when we send out emails, notifications, anything, just like, yeah, keep that in mind. And we will see you again soon. We'll see y'all next time. Thank
Okay,
you.
guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.